All right, hello everybody. So for today's video, what we're going to discuss is cholesterol. Both what cholesterol is, how it impacts our heart, and what we can do with our diet and lifestyle to keep our cholesterol in normal levels. So cholesterol often gets a very bad reputation as being this terrible thing, but cholesterol is something our body produces. We need cholesterol. It's a compound that is both produced by the liver and taken in through the diet, and it has a number of benefits. Cholesterol is involved in making the membranes in our cell. Cholesterol is involved with our brain. Our hormones are made from cholesterol. Vitamin D is activated in the cholesterol in our body. So cholesterol isn't something we're trying to eliminate. We want to keep it in healthy levels. So we have enough to keep us healthy, but not so much that it's a sign that something is wrong inside. So we have many different forms of cholesterol being shuttled throughout the body. First, we just have our total cholesterol, which a lot of recommendations are to try to have your total cholesterol less than 200. Although there are some physicians like Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and others who believe that total cholesterol actually seems to be more protective for the heart when it's about 150 or less. So there's some debate right now about what the ideal range is, but somewhere in there would be ideal. Now, LDL is cholesterol that is being deposited in the body. Some people call it our bad cholesterol, but I don't really like that term because it's all just cholesterol. There's really no good or bad. It's just that LDL is when cholesterol is being deposited in the body. So the more LDL we have, it's a sign that more cholesterol is being deposited in the system. And obviously the more that's being deposited, the greater risk there is that blockages are going to occur. So ideally, we want it less than 80. Again, some people would say less than 100, but some studies are finding that less than 80 is really ideal. Whereas HDL is when cholesterol is being removed, and it's being taken back to the liver to be recycled, or it's being excreted through the colon. So the higher our HDL, the more old cholesterol is being taken out of the system. So anything above 40 is considered to be a sign of great heart health, that things aren't getting stuck. It's kind of keeping everything cleaned out. So there's a big debate right now with cholesterol because it used to be thought that eating cholesterol raised your cholesterol. And then it was that saturated fat was going to raise your cholesterol. And now some studies are finding that it doesn't really matter quite so much and sugar plays a bigger role in your cholesterol. Well, what I personally think is that what these are showing is that the quality of the food, whether it's from carbohydrates, proteins, fats, whatever, better quality food is better for our heart. More poor quality food is not good for our heart. So rather than trying to find this one demon, this one thing to blame, try to start to focus on just whether the food that we're eating is of good or poor quality. So typically poor quality foods are really poor quality fat. Fat that's either very rancid, very oxidized, very processed. So these are things like trans fats, especially margarine, fake butters and shortenings, things like that. Things that have been hydrogenated are absolutely terrible for the heart and will cause a lot of cholesterol to be produced by the liver. Omega-6 fats, these are processed vegetable oils. Now, most people are not cooking with cottonseed oil. Most people are not cooking with a lot of these types of oils, maybe corn oil, but for the most part, we get these oils in our diet in processed food. Look at a box of crackers, look at a box of chips, look at a box of cookies, look at a box of flavored rice mix. Look at the kinds of fats they're putting in there. It is typically these processed vegetable oils. So the only way you're going to get a lot of processed vegetable oil in the diet is if you're relying on a lot of boxed and frozen and processed food. And then oxidized saturated fat. This is saturated fat that's been treated with heat and pressure and all these, again, very processed technique done to it. Bacon and sausage, lunch meats, mixed butters, processed dairy fat. Basically things that have been through the ringer, things that have been through a great big food company and have gone through all these changes are very bad for the heart. We produce cholesterol, one of the reasons is to actually help heal the cardiovascular system. So when there's a wound or an inflammation or something happening, the body kind of smears cholesterol on top of it to try to help it heal underneath. So if we're eating these kinds of foods, these poor quality foods, there's more inflammation happening and more cholesterol has to be produced. So the main message I want to try to get across is don't think of it so much as I need to lower my cholesterol. Think of it as I want to heal my heart so that my body doesn't have to keep producing so much cholesterol, and those numbers will go down by default. So complex carbohydrates that have been stripped of all of their goodness, stripped of all their fiber and nutrients, we're left with simple carbohydrates. White flour, white sugar, white rice, corn syrup, brown sugar, I hate to break it to you, agave syrup, all of these things. Anything in excess, anything that's been refined down is a lot of sugar. Anything that's been broken down into really processed flour. Think about white flour and you mix it with water. That's how you make paper mache. It's this big gooey mess that's being put into your body. So a lot of carbohydrates that have been simplified and processed in the diet cause issue. The heart is going to scream out for help and more cholesterol is going to be produced. So the main message here is just trying to reduce processed food. I know we hear this message a lot, but it's another reason why it's very important. Even if it's low fat, even if it's whatever, artificial sweeteners, so there's no insulin or whatever, just processed food is processed food. And the more we eat, the more harmful it's going to be. An interesting study, I wanted to bring this up, there was a study done at these different kinds of amino acids, carnitine, choline, why should anybody care? Basically what this study found is that the bacteria in our gut eat different amino acids like carnitine, choline, different things, and produce these compounds, produce these byproducts that through a long string of chemical processes raise our cholesterol and impact our heart health. People who ate the most plant food, the most vegetables, the most grains, beans, fruits, changed the kind of bacteria in their gut so that when things like carnitine and choline were in their diet, they didn't produce this compound. Versus people who ate a lot of processed food and animal food and not a lot of plant food had totally different bacteria in their gut. And so that when these amino acids were in their diet, they produced this harmful compound. So it doesn't matter whether you know what foods contain choline or carnitine, it doesn't really matter. The idea is that the more plant foods you bring into your diet, you literally change the kind of bacteria, that healthy bacteria in the gut, and produce different compounds that can be very heart protective versus still relying on a lot of animal food, processed food, and it completely changes everything. So along that note, what protects the heart? What protects the heart is what protects the whole body. Lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, lots of beans and lentils. And if you're not using beans and lentils in your diet, start. Try to get a half a cup to a cup a day or more if you can. Put them in soup, blend them up into dip, mix them into rice, mix them into anything you can think of. They're very, very protective for the body. Fruits and whole grains and good quality fat like nuts and seeds and oils that haven't been fried or processed. Tiny little changes, just getting more of these foods in, protect the heart, and when the heart is feeling healthier, it talks to the liver and says, I don't need as much cholesterol, you can stop producing quite so much. It helps to keep everything working in balance and everything working in tune. So basically, what do we do to help lower our cholesterol by protecting the heart? Try to cook with less processed food. You don't always have to cook vegetables and things in oil. You can saute them in water, you can saute them in wine, you can saute them in apple juice or vegetable stock or something like that. Trying to avoid corn syrup and refined foods and processed fat and processed foods and deep fried food. Little things, tiny little changes, just bringing in more of these healthy items can be very protective for the heart. Eating more plant forms of protein, beans, lentils again, because what we're trying to do is get a lot of fiber. Fiber has a billion different benefits, one of which is not only does it help heal just the digestive system, but fiber binds to bile acids and cholesterol and all these other things and it gets it out of the body. Most people get less than 10 grams of fiber a day. We should be getting probably somewhere around 50. So chances are you could use a little more fiber in your diet. Beans and lentils and vegetables and whole grains are amazing sources of fiber. It is easy to get 50 grams a day just by bringing more of these foods in. You don't need fiber supplements or fiber drinks or those horrible tasting things, just more of these plant foods in, and it is incredible. And then going with healthy fats, we talk about omega-3s a lot without going into too much detail on them. Things like flax seeds, things like chia seeds, walnuts, just good old boring walnuts are rich sources of omega-3 and can help to reduce inflammation in the diet. And they're finding that things like shiitake mushrooms or other East Asian mushrooms and garlic can be very helpful for the heart too. The only thing I'll say about that, with omega-3s, mushrooms, garlic, we hear about these superfoods, if you will. They can be very helpful, but they don't replace just good general healthy eating. So feel free to bring these foods in if you enjoy them, but don't think that just because I eat a handful of walnuts a day, I'm healing my heart. That needs to be on top of taking all the processed food out and bringing a lot of these whole plant foods in. Other things that are great for the heart are exercise, especially aerobic exercise. It doesn't have to be exercise to the point of exhaustion, it's just movement. Oh, I walk, I jog, I stretch, I swim. So I know people like to just throw a good CD on or whatever and just dance in their home for 20 minutes. Anything that just gets the heart moving is wonderful. And stress management. Stress is very toxic for the heart. It is toxic for the whole body, and stress can produce more cholesterol. So deep breathing, journaling, spiritual practice, yoga, anything that you can think of that helps you to manage or reduce your stress will positively impact your heart. Things like avoiding smoking is tremendously important for the heart, keeping a healthy weight. Certain supplements, sometimes people talk about different supplements for the heart, for cholesterol, but I typically don't like to recommend anyone in particular because supplements are still active in the system. There's nothing anyone can put in their mouth that doesn't affect some other part of their body. So before you take a supplement or an herb, or check with your pharmacist or physician if you're on any medications, and see if they have any just general side effects or things that you need to be aware of. If you are on a statin, a cholesterol-lowering drug, some benefit has been found with the supplement CoQ10, which the statin drugs can sometimes reduce those levels in the body. Again, if you are on a statin or a cholesterol-lowering drug, you might want to speak to your pharmacist or doctor about CoQ10, but I wouldn't jump right on that bandwagon. It's just a good conversation to have. So if we were to plan out the daily diet, we want most of our food to come from, not shockingly, whole grains, good starchy veggies, beans, lentils, fruits and veg. 75–80% or more. I mean, really load up on them as much as you want. Animal foods like meat or fish or poultry, nuts, seeds, avocados, pressed oils, smaller amount. It doesn't mean that you can't eat an egg or that you can't have oil or any of these things, but they should be smaller amounts. If your dinner is usually a steak with a side of broccoli and potato, change it where your dinner is broccoli, potato, veggie, rice, stir-fried all together, full of different colors, with a little slice of steak kind of mixed through in it, kind of ground up throughout, or a big bowl of lentil vegetable soup with a little bit of ground chicken or something mixed into it. It's just switching that proportion from being mostly processed and animal heavy to being mostly unprocessed and plant heavy that makes all the difference. And here you have this on your handout, I won't go through, but the idea is if every day you made one small change, I'm adding one extra fruit, I'm adding a little bit of some soup that has some beans in it, or I'm going to add one new vegetable throughout the week. Little thing, little thing, little thing, little less oil today. As we go through 1 week, if you did these, you'd have 3 extra servings of plant foods in the diet and have changed the quality of fat. If you go into the second week, same thing, little bit, extra vegetable, extra fruit. Switching out white rice for brown rice, switching out whole grain pasta for white pasta. Tiny little things. By the end of 2 weeks, you could be eating 10 to 12 servings of plant foods a day, between whole grains, fruits, veggies, and beans. Getting all the liquid candy, i.e. sweetened drinks out of your diet, good quality fat. If breakfast wasn't something you were having, maybe you start to work that in. In half a month, just 14 days, tremendous benefits can be found and great improvements in your health from small changes that add up over time. If you're looking for some resources about recipes or other things we can do for the heart, these are some ones that I love. John McDougall and Caldwell Esselstyn are 2 wonderful physicians that do a tremendous amount of work and study on the role between diet and lifestyle and heart health. And the Engine 2 diet, this is one of 10 billion books out there, but I happen to like this one, full of great recipes and information on really heart-healthy plant-based foods. So I hope that you found this information helpful, and do something kind for your heart today. Thank you.